And we are live. Hey, everybody. It's me, Will, the Dreamer, broadcasting live today on this beautiful, rainy Monday morning from Dreamland Studios. And I'm not going to wait any further. I have been looking forward to this all night, actually, just in anticipation. I can't even talk. In anticipation, because I'm so excited to present to everybody that Artist Talk today is featuring Gar Borras, CEO of Appetite for Destruction, the nation's #1 most dangerous leading tribute band. How are you today, Gar?
Glad to be here.
So, Appetite for Destruction, lay it on me.
Well, we're a Guns N' Roses tribute band, and we've been doing it now since 2011, so that would make us nine years old. Started it on, I believe it's March 8th of 2011. That was the birth date of our band.
Oh, man. That's amazing. That's amazing. So, with all the wonderful bands that were around at that time, especially when GNR was just coming up in the Hollywood scene and everything, what about GNR appealed to you so much that you go, that's the band right there. That's the band that I want to pay tribute to.
Well, when you're doing tribute bands, of course you want an iconic one because of the appeal. There are when I started doing tribute bands, not Appetite for Destruction, but I started way back in the 90s when tribute bands were in its kind of infancy. And the top dogs for quite a while was a band called Atomic Punks.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to have, I believe his stage name is Michael Starr. I know him by his real name. But he's now singing for Steel Panther. But back in those days, he used to sing for Atomic Punks, and they were like the top dogs. And at that time, I was kind of getting back into music back in the 90s because I had kind of left music. Back in the 80s, I did originals just like everybody else in Los Angeles while Guns N' Roses were playing in Los Angeles, and even before Guns N' Roses were playing in Los Angeles. And but I did that for at least 10 years doing original material, and then my daughter was born, and things like life happens, and I started working for a large musical instrument retail company and started doing that, and kind of left music for a while. My focus was going in different areas. But then when my children got old enough and it just became more feasible, I was drawn back to wanting to play music. And at that time, it's just more of like a casual, my thinking was, well, I'll just do a cover band and just do it for fun. And so I started doing a cover band. And I hated it. Not a knock on cover bands, but it just wasn't very appealing to me, singing, say, like 4 sets a night, getting home at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, doing that whole thing. It was kind of a grind, especially when you have a job. And so I started noticing the tribute bands. Of course, Atomic Punks was doing that at that time, and they were the big dogs. And I went to the band I was playing with, and I basically said, why are we doing this kind of killing ourselves playing 4 sets when we can do very similar to what we used to do back in the 80s, which is an hour to an hour and a half set, and get paid the same amount of money, and be able to go home at at a decent hour. So, at first, the band was really against it, and they didn't like the idea of dressing up like somebody, and that whole thing. And but finally, when we were playing, at that time, every time we played something by Cheap Trick, the place would come alive. So I went to the guys and I said, hey, why don't we do a Cheap Trick tribute band? And so they go, oh, okay, kind of begrudgingly and everything like that. And I created a band called Dream Police, and I was bleaching my hair blonde, and
That's
wearing,
wonderful.
dressing up like Robin Zander with a suit and tie. And it was kind of fun because I had always dressed up like a rocker on stage, and doing a lead singer that's all dapper and everything like that was kind of fun, and did that for about 9 years. And the only reason, I had a lot of fun, but the only reason why I didn't really want to continue after about 9 years was because we were always opening for someone else. Cheap Trick was, very popular, but they weren't, popular enough to carry the headlining, the weight of the show. And so I wound up at that time, I had gained some notoriety, because, I was getting pretty good at what I was doing as far as putting bands together and, promoting shows and stuff like that. And so I decided to take another turn, and I put together a Soundgarden / Audio Slave tribute band, and that one was called Audio Slave. And Audio Garden, and did that for about 4 years. But the same thing kind of happened. At that time, it wasn't enough to really carry the headlining. And while I was doing that band, I was at work, and one of my coworkers came up to me and asked me. He told me that they had a show. Their band had a show at the Orange County Fairgrounds, and it was a Slash tribute band, and they asked me if I would sing for it, and I was telling them, well, I'm really, I'm kind of busy doing what I'm doing with this, with Audio Garden.
Yeah.
And at first I kind of turned him down, but he was a good friend, and he goes, please, like, and so I go, okay. And so they gave me the material, and I told them, that, because I'm busy and everything like that, I'm only going to be able to do one rehearsal. And I'm going to show up to that rehearsal, and I'm going to be ready to go. I'm going to know all the material. I'm going to have everything memorized, and I'm going to have everything ready to go. And if the rest of the guys in the band, don't have their ducks in a row, then I'm probably not going to do it. So we did a rehearsal, and it clicked. And I was kind of discovering with Slash's solo material, because even when Slash wasn't playing for Guns N' Roses, his solo material was a lot of fun to do, and it was kind of diverse because there's a lot of different singers that he was working with, Miles Kennedy and the singer for Slash's Snake Pit. We were doing Velvet Revolver and a bunch of stuff like that, and it was kind of fun. And of course, the light bulb goes off in my head, and I'm going, Guns N' Roses tribute. So one day we were at rehearsal, and the bass player, he basically, decided to bring up the elephant in the room about, deciding whether the band was going to be a Slash tribute or a Guns N' Roses tribute, because it just seemed to make more sense
Yeah.
to do Guns N' Roses. And so, everybody had agreed, and then I wound up leaving Audio Garden and wound up doing Appetite for Destruction. We started out with a bang, because by then I had established a really good relationship with Live Nation, and
Yes.
so they were allowing us to springboard my band
Yes.
at the House of Blues, launching it and everything, and which was really, really nice. And the House of Blues Hollywood, rest in peace, because that place isn't open anymore. I
Right.
absolutely loved that place.
Yes.
They treated me so well. It was just a really, really good relationship with the House of Blues Hollywood. And the Appetite for Destruction shows were so successful that, as a thank you to me, they actually gave me New Year's Eve, which is, for any band, a New Year's Eve show is very coveted. Everybody, that's that's a venue's thank you
Mm.
to a band for doing a really good job. They gave me that 2 years in a row. And so Appetite for Destruction was able to do that, and
Amazing.
it just took off from there. And now here we are 9 years later, and it's still going. We're stronger than ever. I've got an amazing lineup. I've got a guy named Johnny Lucas on guitar. I have our newest member is a guy named PJ Zitarosa, Italian guy. He is one of the best. I hate to say it because it's not a knock on other guitarists.
Yeah.
PJ is extremely high level guitarist. One of the best guitarists I think I've ever seen in Los Angeles, and he's in our band.
That
I
says something.
can't believe it. We have a guy named Pat McGrath, who is also one of the best drummers in Los Angeles. And we have Tom Stillwagon on bass, holding down the Duff bass tones, and just an amazing lineup of musicians. And we've been together now, with PJ, being the newest member, but the core of the band's been together now for quite a while, and it's kind of created a brotherhood. I'm not used to that, and it took me a little while, but our band has become very tight, very close. We look out for each other. And it really shows now, with all these difficulties going on with the virus. Our band is really sticking together and kind of looking out for each other.
That's great.
So it's just a wonderful relationship with all of these guys. I'm extremely lucky to be able to be at the at the helm, so to speak. It's just a wonderful experience. It really is a wonderful experience working with these guys.
Well, thank you. Thank you for breaking that
The
down.
coffee's working. I can't stop talking.
That's great. That's great. Um, one of my faithful viewers, Robert. A bunch of quarter notes. Thanks, Robert. Say hi to Gar, Robert. Welcome to the show, Robert. Thank you for being here. It's a good friend of mine that lives up in Canada. And yeah, yeah. You know, the thing that I have found, I mean, to be able to do some iconic band's material and pull it off, and pull it off right, and pull it off effective, and serve the song, and, well, serve the band, and do the band justice. Uh, I was watching some clips, some video clips of you guys, and I'm a big believer in that if I can put on a video clip from a tribute band, close my eyes, and if I hear the band that the act I'm listening to sounds like the band that they're paying tribute to, if I'm hearing that, then I know that this tribute band is the real deal. You guys, Appetite for Destruction, you guys are the real deal. And when I discovered Appetite for Destruction, I believe you and I belong, or I belong to your Facebook group. And the Facebook group that you're always posting in.
Uh-huh.
And that's your group, right?
Yes, I'm a promotion maniac.
That's cool. You have to be. You have to be.
Yeah.
That's outstanding. That's outstanding. When I discovered, I joined your group, and when I discovered that, wait a minute, this guy sings in a band. Wait a minute, and then the light went on, and I was like, oh wow. So then I realized, yeah, Appetite for Destruction. This is the band I was watching just the other night. And I was thinking to myself, oh man. So then I got excited. And then I started thinking, I got to get these guys on my show. Yeah, because I'm such an admirer of what you guys do. And not everybody can do it. You know,
Well, it's you know, it's actually there are a lot of people that look at tribute bands, and people will have mixed opinions about tribute bands. Some people really enjoy it because it just allows them to be able to enjoy their favorite bands and not pay these exorbitant prices that they would have to pay to see the original, because it has become so expensive. When I was a kid in high school, it goes back to like the mid 70s, because I'm pretty up there. But when I was a kid back in the mid 70s in high school, it was kind of a common practice to kind of sneak peanut butter and jelly sandwich from home, and then take the lunch money that your mom and dad gives you and pocket it and save it up. And then when your favorite band, like, I got to see Pink Floyd, I got to see Queen, Thin Lizzy was opening for them. I got to see all these iconic bands from saving my lunch money to be able to go see these bands. And it was, I learned to do that from my friends when I would go to school, and they'd say that's what they were doing. And so that's how cheap it was to be able to see these bands. You could basically take your lunch money and save it up and go to buy tickets to see them in concert. And back in those days, it was so fun because part of the experience was standing in line at the place to buy tickets,
Mm-hmm.
because that was kind of a social event in itself. Because all the all the girls are there checking out the guys. All the guys are there checking out the girls. Everybody's standing in line for a common reason, for the love of a particular band, with
Yeah.
excitement and anticipation. The endorphins and everybody is high. So it
Mm-hmm.
was always, it was kind of a social experience just
Mm-hmm.
standing in line, buying tickets for your favorite band. But now you fast forward to nowadays, and to see those same bands, you have to literally bust out your credit card and make monthly payments to be able to afford
Mm.
tickets,
Yeah.
because the tickets are so outrageous. And high school kids don't nowadays don't aren't able to experience these kind of things. So a tribute band kind of fulfills that need, for people to be able to still be able to afford to see their favorite bands, and kind of experience it, and still be able to afford it. Um, and for me, that's it's kind of humbling
Mm.
to be in that kind of position, because, to be honest with you, I didn't think that I would be doing this at this stage of my life. I thought I would be like most other people my age, sitting at home twiddling my thumbs,
Mm.
talking about the old days, when I used to play in original bands and stuff like that. And it's to me, pinch me, because would I rather be doing not that much and just talking about the old days, or would I rather be dressing up like one of my favorite bands, and playing still playing the kind of music that I used to play back in the 80s, even though it's not my own. Give me a choice of not doing anything and doing this. I'll take this.
Yeah.
To
Absolutely.
me, uh, you know, but there's going to be some people that, they're gonna, oh, how could you, do that? You can't even be yourself. It really doesn't have anything to do with not being able to be yourself. It has everything to do with being able to still have an excuse to get out there and play,
Yeah.
and play in front of big, appreciative audiences, and
Yeah.
still do what your heart desires to do. Because a musician, being a musician, whether you're doing a tribute band, whether you're doing a cover band, whether you're doing original, uh, music is in your DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Musicians are a different breed of
Mm-hmm.
person, not better, but not lower, or just a different breed of person. That when you take music away from them, there's kind of a hole. There's kind of this thing, that
Yeah.
an emptiness. And when you give a musician a choice, to go, is kind of what they call go back to the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a baseball term, for minor league players going to the
Yes.
back up, stepping up to the show.
Yes.
When you're given a choice, you're gonna take it. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, it just kind of evolved into this. But I've totally embraced it. I have part of my DNA that I can't do anything and do it just kind of half-hearted. I always have to put a lot into it. And it's really challenging to do what I'm doing right now, especially when because the higher level you go, when you're headlining, and there's the pressure on you to be able to pack a venue, you have to do a really good job,
Mm-hmm.
because people are not going to come in large numbers if you're not doing a good representation of what you're doing. You have to sound like, they have to believe you're that band. There has to be an excitement and anticipation,
Yes.
kind of like what it used to be like when I was a kid standing in line buying tickets to see my favorite bands. There has to be that anticipation.
Absolutely.
And it's quite a challenge doing this, and doing it to this level, because you not only do you have to be a very high level singer, which is what I do on this, of course it's obvious, but you also have to be an actor. And that's something that I've never really taken lessons or anything. I've always been a teach yourself how to do it. And just like when I first started Appetite, I didn't really sound like Axl. To be honest with you, I had to work on it, and it was something that I had to work on for quite a few years before I even started sounding like Axl. And over the years, I've never really stopped trying to improve, and even to this day, I still work on it and trying to add more things to what I do to sound like him, or he does this, so now I'm going to work on this. I'm strong at this, but I'm not as strong at that, and working on all these different things. So it's quite an experience. It's not just being like a cover band and just getting up there and playing your version of a group of songs. You really have to put things under a microscope, and you have to be really good at multiple things. You can't just be good at one thing. You have to be good at many things, and the more things you're good at, the higher your value goes. And then the more people are getting excited about coming to your shows, because they really feel like they're enjoying the experience of seeing Guns N' Roses.
Yeah. So, what would you say would be the thing, if you had a chance to sit down with Axl, have a heart-to-heart, what would be the first thing you would say to him?
Well, I think, because I was playing in Los Angeles at the same time back in those days, I think I would probably do a lot more reminiscing than anything. Because we were both kind of, did, the LA music scene at the same time, and we're experiencing a lot of the same things, things that only if you were playing in Los Angeles at that time you would know about. And I think it would be much more of something like that, than the awestruck, that kind of thing. I think it would be more sharing the experiences, because playing in Los Angeles at that time, when it was like, it's really hard for people, because when you go to Los Angeles and you see a venue and you see a pretty big line going into a venue, you're basically, your mental thing of seeing that is, wow, that's exciting. That's a big line. Well, when you were in Los Angeles on the Sunset Strip, the entire strip was packed with people like that. You couldn't tell where the line was and where people that were milling around outside of the venue. The entire Sunset Strip was a ton of people. And it was just the excitement of being in Los Angeles at that time, and playing in bands. and the the technology wasn't the way it was.
Right.
And when you were in a band, you were down in Los Angeles with your flyers promoting shows, which is another great way to meet girls, because you're passing out your flyers, and there's your icebreaker, to start talking, to girls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was just a really exciting time to be playing in Los Angeles. And I think everybody that was doing it at that time thought that it was going to last forever. And it went extremely strong for at least 10 years, which for a genre, which you would call hard rock, heavy metal, hair bands, which kind of used to be lumped into one genre at that time. Genres usually have maybe about a 5-year lifespan, and then things change, and then other things become popular.
Yeah.
But that whole thing lasted for a good solid 10 years, being really, really strong in LA. And so only the people that played in Los Angeles at that time really would know about these experiences, and just all of the after parties. Another thing that was really kind of unique of that time, or was kind of the norm at that time. A party wasn't starting till around 11 o'clock. So if you got there at 9, you were like way early. And of course, people would party. At that time there was a lot of partying going on, and you would be partying till like easily 3-4 o'clock in the morning. That was the norm, back in those days.
Whiskey parking lot.
Yes, and nowadays, people, when they come to my shows, the party starts at about 9 and ends at about 11. So things have changed quite a bit, since those days. But it's for a lot of people. I used to tell my kids when my kids were growing up in the 90s. That maybe dad didn't, grow up to, maybe dad didn't have that huge rock star success, but I was fortunate enough to live a life that people only hear about. And nowadays I get to kind of perpetuate that for people, because that's kind of the thing for people coming to tribute band shows, and most of the bands that are really, really popular are bands from the 80s, and they kind of want to relive that a little bit more in the safe zone of today, rather than the intoxicated party doesn't start till about 11 p.m. Days of the 80s, and partying all the way into the night, to the wee hours of the morning.
Yeah. Well, I this really strikes a memory, and it strikes the beauty of, at that time, the era of Guns N' Roses, the era of LA Guns, the era of Bang Tango, the era of Shark Island.
Yes.
It takes me back. I mean, back at that time, house parties were always great. Never really that much out of control, unless Van Halen was playing in your backyard.
I was around when Van Halen was playing, and they were doing backyard parties, and there were literally thousands of people that would show up to Van Halen's backyard parties. And this is years before they were signed. They were signed in the late 70s.
Yes.
and their backyard parties were pretty notorious.
Hmm.
I grew up in the San Gabriel Valley, which is Van Halen was kind of centralized in the Pasadena / Arcadia kind of area, and
Yes. Yes.
I grew up in the east side of San Gabriel Valley, which was more West Covina, Glendora, which is where Tommy Lee went to Royal Oak High School. I went to
Hmm.
West Covina High School. Mark Kendall grew up
Hmm.
I went to elementary school with Mark Kendall, and we were on Little League baseball team together. There was a lot of musicians that grew up in the kind of the San Gabriel Valley. It was kind of a
Hmm.
hotbed for a lot of talent,
Yeah.
and Van Halen, they would do these backyard parties, and there would be like literally thousands of people that would show up to their backyard parties. I
Yeah.
was fortunate enough to be playing in bands that had some pretty notorious backyard parties. I played a backyard party in Covina that had thousands of people show up, and two helicopters were flying over trying to break up the party, and nobody would leave until the band would stop playing, and we just kept playing so the cops couldn't break it up. It was quite I at the time when you're doing it, you're not thinking how rebellious you
No,
are,
you're not. You're just having
you
a good
know
time.
yeah, we're just having a good time. At that backyard party, all of a sudden we were playing, and I realized that, hey, if we don't stop playing and pack up our equipment,
Yeah.
we're going to get arrested.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I stopped playing, and the rest of the guys in the band goes, "What's going on?" And I said, "Hey, we need to get out of here. We need to get our equipment quick." So we packed all our equipment in the van, and the second I closed the doors of the van and I turned around, there was a cop standing there.
Hmm.
And he was right in my face. And he goes, "You're in the band, aren't you?" And I go, "Yeah." And I literally talked to that cop for at least an hour. And thank goodness this happened back in the mid 70s, because I was able to talk the cops out of arresting us. I can't. That's when I realized I had the makings of being a good salesman.
Yeah.
But I actually talked that cop out of arresting us and confiscating our equipment, because they were going to impound our equipment, and they let us go. That would never ever happen today.
No.
But yeah, I that was a backyard party that I played at back in the 70s, and there was a lot of great musicians.
Hmm.
There was a guy named Tracy G, that was very notorious guitarist, that went on to play for Ronnie James Dio for about 5 years, and he was playing in the St. Gabriel at that time, and he had a lot of notoriety. A lot of people were talking about Tracy G back in the mid 70s,
Mm.
and there were a lot of great musicians playing in that area, and of course the top dogs were Van Halen,
Yeah.
and their career speaks for itself. But I remember being in high school and seeing Van Halen flyers, people passing around flyers, when they were playing at some place called the International Casino, which was a bowling alley in Duarte, California.
Yeah.
You know, they,
Yeah.
it was a very, I had no idea at that time how fortunate I was to grow up in Southern California, in
Hmm.
the San Gabriel Valley at that time. But now I look back and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I got to experience some crazy, crazy things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, tell me, I've seen, I've been very fortunate to see some of the crowds that Appetite for Destruction has performed for. And I gotta tell you, I could see why. I mean, what the why so many people appeal to Appetite for Destruction, and I'm like, that's amazing. What is the biggest crowd that you would say Appetite for Destruction has performed in front of?
Hmm. Gosh, when I was playing in Dream Police, this is before Appetite for Destruction.
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate enough to play at the Tempe Music Festival, which is a yearly thing in Tempe, Arizona,
Yeah.
and it was we back in those days we opened up for Led Zeppelin a lot, and they're an absolutely amazing
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin tribute band,
They are.
and they're just a wonderful bunch of people.
Yes.
Swan, just a wonderful
Swan.
hearted person.
Yeah.
All of the guys in that band are just wonderful hearted people,
Mm-hmm.
and so we were fortunate enough to open for them a lot. And so when we got invited to go out to Tempe Music Festival and open up for them,
Yeah.
we played. That was at the very least 5,000 people, and that was our first show that we ever did opening up for Led Zeppelin. But usually with Appetite for Destruction, um, we do festivals and things like that where there's a good 3,000 people and stuff like that. But on an average, we're usually playing to crowds about 1,500. Anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500, and
Mm-hmm.
and just there just seems to be a large amount of people that really enjoy going to see tribute bands, and just enjoy kind of reliving, and a lot of those people are on my Facebook page, and I kind of get to share with them, me being me instead of the Axel persona, and that kind of thing. So a lot of those people kind of know me more as the person, and for the most part, I'm my presence there is mostly as a promotional presence, uh, but I do kind of uh, interject my sense of humor, which is a lot of fun to interact with a lot of people, because there just seems to be so much negativity on Facebook. I just want my presence on Facebook to be more inspiring, and to just be able to give people a chuckle, something to laugh about. I just really prefer to stay away from the negativity.
Me too.
You know, there's there, hopefully there's, more people that, they're cooped up right now and they don't really have a lot to do. And maybe, they can, share some of to me, I think the most enjoyable thing about Facebook is if I scroll past something that's absolutely hilarious. And when people post stuff like that, that's what I really enjoy the most. I love to laugh, and I love to make people laugh.
That's that's wonderful. In today's day and age and everything that's going on, to be able, I don't know how else to look at all this stuff, but I want to bring music to the masses, and I know how music makes me feel, and I know the peace and contentment that I have, and I want to share that. I want to share that. And that, whether anybody cares or not, I want to share it because I know that music's real, and I know that magic's real, and music is inspiration, and I mean, because I know, and I can't help but try and share it. Sometimes sometimes I have success, and sometimes that comes later, But
Well, I'm truly a very, very lucky person to be doing what I'm doing at this stage of my life. I
yeah,
honestly thought that music would be it would be a past thing, and it helps me to keep mentally healthy. It's helped me through some very difficult times.
hmm
When I went through I've been through some very difficult financial
me too,
times, and
me too.
had I not had playing in a tribute band to help me through those difficult times. I I cannot express enough how lucky of a person I am to be doing what I do right now.
Well, there's just nothing like it. I meet people and I talk to people, and sometimes if if this whole thing, what we're all doing and what we're all trying to do, and in your case, what you are doing and what I'm trying to do, is somebody doesn't understand why it's important, and if somebody doesn't understand, um, well, why it's important, um, it's kind of hard to talk to people, but the more you get to know, at least for me it is, and I found out that with people that that if they the more you talk to somebody, the more you learn about them.
Hmm.
The more you learn about them, and that is where music comes in.
Well, I'm kind, most people don't know this about me, but I'm kind of an introvert, but
Me too.
music allows me to be able to kind of break out of that, and be able to be connected with people and stuff like that. But I'm kind of a hard person to get to know, because to kind of get to know a person that's introverted. It's much easier to get to know extroverted people, but for me, I'm a difficult person to get to know, because you have to kind of gain my trust, to before I'm going to. And so quick friendships don't really happen with me. I have to get to know a person, to before they're going to become somebody that's a close friend. um, it's but music allows me to be uh, connected, and to be able to have more connection than I would if I didn't have music. Because if I didn't have music, I'd probably be a lot less connected with a lot of people, and there would be a lot more people that wouldn't even really know me. But um, once I feel comfortable and everything, oh my gosh, am I a talkative person? But I just
That's
have to
right.
reach that point where I feel comfortable. I've quickly feel comfortable with you, Will. You
Thank
know,
you. Likewise.
so
Likewise.
there are a lot of people. Usually with when they have interactions with people that are introverted, because they're so difficult to get to know, most people's first impression is that they're stuck up. But I can't really do anything about that. I just can only be myself because I'm not comfortable being somebody else. I have to be myself. But it has the furthest thing to do with being stuck up.
Yeah.
It just has much more to do with, uh, you know, uh, gaining the trust to become part of my small circle. Because the people that are really good friends of mine are actually kind of a small circle, but it's a very small circle of very tight friends.
I'm telling you, that's the way to go, though. It really is. I mean, you got to protect yourself. You need to protect your interests. You need to protect, and it's terrible that there has to be such an emphasis and such a demand on protecting yourself nowadays. But you have to. You know, I I'm kind of like I'm like the person at the party. Okay, I'm the party guy. I'm the hey, what's up? And oh, really? They're playing tonight? Cool. Let's go check it out. I'm that guy. And I'm the guy that says, "Come on, let's go, man. This is going to be cool." You know what I mean? And I'm just that guy.
Well, I'm the guy that when I go to another show, I'm usually either at in the back with the close friends and kind of
Yeah,
interacting with them instead of being in the pit with the big crowd of people and all that
yeah.
kind of stuff. I'm usually maybe at the show, but I'm usually more with the small group of friends.
Well, you need to be though. I mean, and you know, your memories and my memories, experiences, they're too sacred to us to be disrespected by anybody else, and that's why it's so important that there's such an emphasis on protecting ourselves nowadays and being smart and having
Yeah.
a small circle of tight people, tight friends, tight supporters. You know, um,
One
I've
of the
always,
beauties of being in a band, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, and you know how when companies are just starting out, they're usually small companies, and everybody knows each other. Everybody's working hand in hand, and there's so many gear companies out like that now,
Hmm.
and I've seen my share of companies um, starting out garages, starting out in bedrooms, starting out. It's just that you really are making me think because it's that tight knit, close
Hmm.
circle of people that build the muscle and to build are that muscle and are that support system that to really kick a commodity, a band, a product, however you would like to put it, into gear and to make it just explode, And so I'm excited for you. And I'm happy for you because I know how important. I was just having this discussion with somebody the other day, as a matter of fact, about the importance that it's so much better to have 4 or 5 close, trusted people in my in my circle than it is to be, for Artist Talk to make me Mr. Popular. I I would rather have the small knit close person.
Well, for me, it's kind of unusual because I'm a maniac promoter, which
Yeah.
most people will expect me to be very outgoing and gregarious, the life of the party, and that kind of a thing. So it's a unique situation because I because I do so much promoting, especially here in Los Angeles, I'm
Yeah.
pretty well known.
Yeah.
And usually when I go out, if I do venture out to go to somebody's show, there's always people that will recognize me and want to come up to me and talk to me and stuff like that,
Hmm.
which is kind of nice, simply because it just I just really I do really enjoy interacting with all of these people, and I enjoy all of these people that come up to me expressing how much they enjoy what I do, and having such a high opinion of how well I'm able to do what it is that I do, and which none of it really came naturally. It all took a lot of hard work, um, to be able to, it's a culmination of many, many years of work that's resulted into the quality of what I'm able to do nowadays. Teaching myself how to act, and teaching myself how to sound like, and teaching myself how to sing and get dual tones, because a lot of people can't, they just hear Axel's voice, but they don't really hear that part of how he does his voice is uh, the ability to get dual tones at the same time.
Yeah.
uh, it's almost kind of like two notes at the same time, and which kind of creates a howl, which is that signature thing that he does in Welcome to the Jungle, that howl, and working on all of those different things and being able to do those things, and when people come up to me and do that, it really feels nice, you know. So I get to, I am, kind of a private person, uh, but I get to enjoy the best of both worlds, because I do a lot of interaction with a lot of people, um, and, which allows me to enjoy that too, as if I was much more of an outgoing person. Does that make sense?
Sure. I get it. I
Yeah.
understand. I understand. And I also understand that I passion and loving what you do, whether whether it's a global success or whether it's a neighborhood success, passion and loving what you do, it all starts from right here. It starts from your heart and your soul and believing in it. And by believing in it, you become a self-fulfilled or self-manifested. Um,
Manifested.
Thank you. I can't talk today. I'm sorry. You become a self-fulfilled prophecy, and things happen. Things happen, and it's real, and it's tangible. And you think, you know, a person might think to themselves, what am I gonna do now? This is crazy. It's because you believe, and know that no matter what anybody says, believe in your heart that whatever you can conceive, you take what you think of, you believe it, you can achieve it. And
Well, yeah,
you know,
let me add to that. If I listened to all of the naysayers, because over all of these years, I've heard it like a million times. You're never going to do this. You're never going to do that.
hmm
The naysayers. If I listened to the
yeah,
naysayers, I wouldn't be here right now.
no,
So, if there's any advice that I can give to another musician, whether you're
yeah,
playing other people's material or whether you're playing your own material, absolutely do not listen to the naysayers.
hmm
Most of the time, the naysayers are saying what they're saying. Uh, a lot of times are out of jealousy, because they don't want to see you succeed. Because they, for some reason, it has to do with that person's negativity,
yeah, yeah,
interjecting that negativity on you.
yes,
So,
yes,
for every musician out there, no matter what you're doing, absolutely do not listen to the naysayers. If they, you know, that you will get farther by believing in yourself, and whenever you're doing for work what you really enjoy doing, it never feels like work.
hmm
That's an old saying, but it's so true. I put in a lot of hours doing what I do, because there's a lot of things that I do for Appetite for Destruction that's behind the scenes, reaching out to booking agents, because we don't just play in Los Angeles. We're based in LA. But we play all over the United States.
hmm
We played in Chesapeake, Maryland. We play in Arizona. We play all over, and so there's a lot of business. That's why you're referring to me as the CEO
yes,
of
yes,
Appetite for Destruction,
and well, you
because
are.
I do handle all of the business, and so for a long time I was the booking agent for Appetite, but now I'm branching out and having relationships, with booking agents. And we just established some new relationships with new booking agencies just before all of this coronavirus thing went down.
Yeah,
And they were really excited about shopping us, and they really liked our promotional videos and stuff like that.
yeah.
And so we're kind of on hold right now, um, but excited, because as soon as all of this, everybody can get back to their lives the way I don't know if everything will get back to the way it was before. But when I think people are always going to be hungry to be able to go out and enjoy, listening to their favorite bands, and enjoy tribute bands, and all of these bands. Live music still is something that people love to go and enjoy doing. Seeing. um, so when all of this gets back to normal, I'm really excited about a lot of these new booking agencies that are excited about shopping our band, and playing in more places that we've never been. One of the wonderful things about doing this is the traveling part of it.
hmm
Being able to go to cities that I've never been to, and enjoying, because every city has its own beauty. its own things that people that live there are very proud of. You know what I mean? It's very important to them. And it's just a wonderful experience, added bonus, being able to travel around and experience the beauties of all of these different places that we get to go to. I remember we went to do a show in Colorado, at it was a state fair in Colorado. And I remember we had a driver that, he basically said, hey, you know what, I'm hired by these guys for the whole day. And I usually, in my own time as a side business, I do tours, drive people out to the sites that are, to be seen in Denver. Mm-hmm. And he said, you wanna drive around? And he took us to he took us to a place that was on diners, drive-ins, and dives for lunch, and it was amazing food. We went to, I believe it was Red Rock, which is a concert. Yeah, concert venue. And I never really understood why that place is such a tourist attraction until I went there. Oh my gosh, that place is so beautiful. And to see a concert there, oh my gosh, it's got to be an absolutely amazing experience. And we had the opportunity to be able to go see, the beauty of Denver, Colorado. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. Every city has its own thing that the people that live there are very, very proud of.
Denver, Colorado. It's funny that you would mention Denver because I lived there for about 3.5 years.
Beautiful city.
And right there on the corner of Humboldt and Colfax, right across the street from Denver Community Hospital.
Uh-huh.
Did you see the Gold Dome at City Hall?
I'm not sure if we got a chance to see that. We did go to a restaurant slash, place where they serve beer that was owned by the governor of Colorado. There was a lot of different things that we got to experience. We're in a band, so we like to drink beer.
Okay, cool, man. That's great. That's great. What's your most memorable Guns experience watching Guns N' Roses live?
You mean actually seeing Guns N' Roses?
Uh-huh.
Well, I got a chance to see them twice. And the first time, my girlfriend at that time was a huge Guns N' Roses fan, and I had an opportunity to get some tickets to go see them, and I really wasn't paying that much attention to them at that time, because when you're doing original material, you're kind of more focused on what you're doing. And it was in the late 80s. No, actually it was the early 90s. And it was the early 90s. And I was still kind of focused on, what I was doing with the original band that I was, playing in. And so I wasn't as focused on other bands. But she really, really loved that band. And so I got a chance to get the tickets, and we went to the concert, and I really didn't have high expectations. And they kicked my behind. They absolutely were on fire. And the opening band was Skid Row. And Skid Row opened with Slave to the Grind, which was just the perfect song to start the show with. So they were absolutely amazing. But when Guns N' Roses hit the stage, they just were on fire. Duff's bass tone was very memorable for me because that's a big part of their signature sound is
Yeah.
his bass tone.
Yeah.
And that roto sound, or the round wound bass string sound, is a big part of his sound, and it really came through. And I remember it wasn't a real big hit, but a memorable song that they played that night was Locomotive. And I just really enjoyed that because, see, back in the 80s, I wasn't a singer. Back in the 80s, I was a bass player. Played bass very successfully for many, many, many years, and was very proficient at it. And so, of course, as a musician during that time, I was much more focused on things like that, the bass tone. But they were amazing. And then the second time I got a chance to see Guns N' Roses was kind of when they were running through troubled time. There were, not, you could kind of pick up the energy coming on the stage that they weren't getting along at that time. And it, no matter how someone tries to hide it or whatever, it still does kind of come through.
Yeah.
And that show just didn't have the fire that the first show I had seen them, and it had a different flavor to it because the first time I saw them, they were a rock band. It was basically a five-piece band, or a five-member band with a piano player. But then when I went and saw them, it was like they were a five-member band with a backup band. They had a horn section. They had the harmonica player. They had this. They had backup singers, and it just had a completely different vibe that just didn't seem as much like a rock band. And I've noticed that the more popular videos, when you're looking at older footage of Guns N' Roses, was more of the band when it was more like they were a five-member rock band. It just seems to be where most people really enjoy what they were doing. And of course, the real soft spot for most Guns N' Roses is all five of the original members. When Steven Adler was playing in the band and Izzy was playing in the band, that is the biggest soft spot for people that really enjoy Guns N' Roses. And I think to this day, the most popular video of Guns N' Roses is live at the Ritz. Back in 1988 when they were really hungry, and that's they just that whole F the world. We're gonna be the way we are, and if you don't like it, tough. That really kind of came through in Live at the Ritz back in 1988. Those seem to be the most watched videos, and the original band, with Steven Adler and Izzy. The five original. That's what we try to represent. And we try to exhibit when we're on stage, and really kind of grasp the essence of that type of live performance. We we just want to have, it's a rock band, uh,
Yeah.
that type of vibe. So we are, uh, talking about, adding more of, to add more authenticity to, the ballads, with, musical background music that they're doing, um, during some of their ballads and stuff like that. So we are talking about adding that because authenticity is everything when you're doing a tribute band. And nowadays, we're doing a lot more costume changes.
The,
Where when we first start out the show, I come out in the outfit of the early '80s with the German military hat that Axel wore, and the snakeskin kind of jacket thing that he wore, and
yeah.
that whole vibe of the early Guns N' Roses years, and then. I'll do a change into the '80s where he has the backwards baseball cap and the bandana, and the Harley Davidson suspenders and all the heavy metal belts and the skin tight leather pants and the cowboy boots and all of that stuff. And then I'll change into the early '90s outfit where he's doing the kilt and the red flannel and the bandana. So it's kind of fun doing the costume changes, and we had to really kind of pay attention into how we worked the show to allow me to do the costume changes and still keep it entertaining, because that's a unique thing in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because you know when you're just doing a band, just doing a collection of songs, it's a little bit different because when what we're trying to do is a show, not just being like a band that does a collection of songs. We're actually trying to put on a show that from beginning to end, there's a
Yeah.
whole thing. And when you're doing the costume changes, you still want to be able to keep people entertained, while that's happening. And so I think we've got that part of it, really well. It took a long time to kind of work those bugs out and see what works and see what doesn't work, and things like that. Nowadays we're able to do a show where it's nice and seamless. Uh, we have an incredible guitarist where when I do the real big, because there's one costume change. It takes time, because there's a whole outfit that I have to take off, and it's kind of difficult to do it when you're all sweaty.
Mm.
A lot of people don't think about that stuff. And then there's a whole nother completely different outfit that you have to put on, and it takes some time. And we have such an incredible guitar. PJ is such an incredible guitarist that he can literally keep you riveted with his guitar stuff that he's doing during that, which is pretty amazing. Um, so we've got it where it's nice and seamless, and then I'm able to come out in this outfit, and then we kind of finish the show.
Well, I, I've seen performances and of Appetite for Destruction live, and I mean, I know I already said this, but I'm you guys really the whole vibe of the band is just it's phenomenal, really. and you guys, all your hard work, years of being put together, and your dedication and commitment just shine when you're
Well,
on the stage.
that's the brotherhood of the guys in the band.
Amazing.
We've become a very tight knit group. We really enjoy being around each other. We interact really well when we're rehearsing. The rehearsals for us are fun.
Mm.
It's we look forward to rehearsing. We look forward to, we don't just rehearse and then say goodbye to each other.
Yeah.
We hang out and talk and enjoy being around. One time we rehearse at our guitarist Johnny Lucas's house most of the time, and one time we were sitting out on his. He's got an incredibly beautiful house, and we were sitting out on his back porch where he's got like, it's an outdoors kind of couches thing, which is really really nice. It's like you're in a living room, but you're outside.
Yeah.
And he brought out BAM magazines. If anybody was in Los Angeles back in the 80s, BAM magazine was the magazine that
Yeah.
everybody rushed to the store to
Mm-hmm.
go see who was playing where.
Mm-hmm.
And Johnny kept those magazines because we were just kind of BSing amongst each other, and we kind of, for some reason, BAM magazine came up in the conversation. He goes in the house and he brings them out, and there's an ad of Metallica
Wow.
before they
Wow.
were signed to their
Wow.
major deal. They were signed to a small indie company at that time, and it was just such a nostalgic. So we're all looking at this, BAM magazines, looking at, going down memory lane and everything. And that's the kind of camaraderie that we have. Is we don't just rehearse, we spend time together. Sometimes we'll do shows and do kind of an after party, and Johnny will like barbecue, and we'll hang out at Johnny's house after the show, and only our tight knit friends
Mm.
come to the after party and stuff like that. And it's more than just playing in a band. It's a really nice experience amongst us, and I think that comes through in the shows. We really enjoy playing together.
Well, it is. I mean, the whole production and and the whole way that Appetite for Destruction goes about performing and putting on a show, it's pretty remarkable. And you know, you mentioned the House of Blues, and
Hmm.
I remember that. I remember that, and I remember seeing Judas Priest and seeing Frank Hannon, lead guitarist of Tesla, had his own solo band, and he opened up for Judas Priest. And this was when Tim Ripper Owens was
Hmm.
singing, and during the Jugulator tour, and
Yep.
I got
Ripper used to be the singer for a tribute band,
yes, that's right, that's right, that's
a
right.
Judas Priest tribute band. They made that movie Rockstar
Mm-hmm.
was kind of a loosely based on him,
Mm-hmm.
with how he kind of got the gig with Judas Priest.
The House of Blues Hollywood.
Out of all, I mean, not a knock on any of the other House of Blueses that we play at, because we play at the other ones too. But there's just such a soft spot in my heart about the Hollywood one. because I think my first experience when we were headlining, and they gave us the headliners dressing room, is the thought that, oh my gosh, we're in the same dressing room that bands like Judas Priest, all of these other iconic bands, so, some of my favorite, like Cheap Trick, when they played there, we get to use the same dressing room that all of these bands, I have such a soft spot in my heart for.
Yes.
I just remember, that going through my mind, how, fortunate we were to be able to, be, in a dressing room like that, and, being able to do that. And, I mean, the same thing with the House of Blues in Anaheim, the old one that used to be over at Disney, and now the new one that's over at Garden Walk. We get to use the headliner's dressing room, that the same dressing room that all of these huge iconic bands use. And, it really, you have to understand, that's a humbling experience.
Yes.
To be able to be, where, some people will always have a negative outlook on tribute bands. Not a lot of people, but there's people out there that will have a negative outlook. But by gosh, I get to do what I'm doing, and I get to do it, and I get to have these kind of dressing rooms. Come on, pinch me. Am I dreaming? This is a wonderful life. Would I rather be sitting at home talking about the good old days, or would I rather be doing what I'm doing right now?
Exactly.
Baboom!
Exactly.
I'll take what I'm doing right now. I love what I'm doing. I'm blessed to be doing what I'm doing. The people that I get to meet, all of these people that, come to the shows and want to have their picture taken with me after a show. People that approach me, I'll still never understand it, because I'm in a tribute band. I'm just portraying somebody else. But people come up to me and they want my autograph. That's hard for me to mentally digest. That they want my autograph. How well we get treated by the House of Blues Las Vegas. They treat us absolutely phenomenally.
Yeah.
And we've got a very solid fan base in Las Vegas. These are people that live in Las Vegas, which is an entertainment capital in itself. And right now, whenever I'm posting stuff, when are you coming back to Las Vegas? When are you coming back to Vegas? That's humbling. Yeah. That's really, that's something not to be taken lightly. That's something to be hugely appreciated. And so, by golly, if you would have asked me back in the 80s when I was playing original material, hey, someday, gosh knows how many years in the future, you're going to be, doing a tribute band where you're going to be portraying Axl Rose, and you're going to have, be doing all of that stuff, I would have told you were crazy, but who's got a crystal ball? I don't. And that's one thing that I've learned over all these years, is nobody's got a crystal ball. Nobody knows how the future is going to be. You can watch how trends are going and everything, but even trends won't really tell you how the future is going to be, because all of these things that I thought, because I am a trends person, and I do watch, how trends go and stuff like that, and how I thought things. None of it, really had any kind of an indication of how the future was going to be, and am very happy. It gives me a chance to live this part of my life, and it gives me that chance to still be able to enjoy what I love to do, which is perform, playing music in front of crowds that really appreciate what I'm doing. And I'm going to keep doing it until either my body gives out and I can't do it anymore, or until I'm playing to the cleanup crew. You know what I mean? I'm not, the crowds aren't coming anymore. I'm going to keep going until one of those two things happens. You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
I remember back in the 80s when I was in original band. I used to be in this band called Tiger. It's spelled Tyger. And I remember being in that band, and I remember being at rehearsal, and I remember telling the guys at rehearsal at that time that I didn't care how old I got. I was going to keep playing until either people aren't coming to the shows or until I'm playing to crickets, you know?
that's
And that's
what you got.
exactly what I'm doing right now. And that's still my mindset. I'm going to still keep going, until one of those
Well,
two
yeah.
things happens. And, it doesn't, I don't see, that happening sometime soon because, like I was saying earlier, we've got quite a number of booking agencies now, that are jumping on board, that are, excited about, booking our band. And that's taking a whole bunch of pressure off of me,
Mhm.
in having to be that booking agent for the band, and allowing me to have more of a personal life. And so I'm looking forward to, maybe be able to have more, free time to go out and see other bands. I'm looking forward to being able to have more of a personal life, to be able to enjoy going out and having, you know, uh, more interactions with the people that really enjoy, our band and stuff like that, and being able to intermingle with most of those people because, the way things have been, with finances and things like that, and just being so heavily committed to pushing Appetite for Destruction forward, really has not offered me to have as much of a personal life to sit back and smell the flowers. So having some of that pressure being taken off of me,
Yeah.
and allowing me to have less and less of that to worry about, and trying to fill the calendar, and doing all of those things, and being able to spend more time, intermingling, having more of a personal life. I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, I'm really glad that you're able to have the. Hi, Amanda. I'm really glad. Amanda. How are you, Amanda? How's it going? I'm really glad that you are able to to have that opportunity to have promoters behind you. And I'll tell you, I want to help all I can. I want to support. I want to spread the news. Like right now, I can tell you that in every single show, and I'm going to do it, and I'm about to do it right now. I talk about these companies that I really love, such as Boss, such as Rock and Roll Relics, such as Dumminger Picks, such as Dean Guitars, such
Mhm.
as Zinga Lamps. Um, and I, just like I did for them right now, I want to talk about and I want to find a way I can share my how much I admire Appetite for Destruction, and how much I think that Appetite for Destruction is a band that people really need to take notice even more than they already have. And I'd like to figure out a way to be able to do that because I like to promote. I like to promote. I like to give free promotion. I don't ask for anything in return. I'm just happy to do it.
Well, keep doing what you love doing, because, when you're doing what you love doing, it never feels like work.
That's it. I would it be okay with you if I kept all of your links in every show description box for every
Oh,
show that I
absolutely.
do?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm I'm a promotion maniac. So, anything that helps us to reach out to more people that, will get a chance to, enjoy what we do. Um, you know, uh, you know, like I keep saying over and over and over, it's a very, very humbling experience. I never thought I'd be doing what I'm doing right now, but I fully enjoy it. I always put my heart, my soul into whatever it is that I do. I never do anything with it that's half-hearted, and obviously with Appetite it kind of shows. But anybody that's known me for more than Appetite will tell you, even when I was well known in the musical industry, musical retail, uh, business, because I did that
Mm-hmm.
for about 20 years.
Yeah.
I used to go to NAMM show every year. Um, I went so often, and that it just became more work to me than enjoy. And I haven't been to NAMM in so many years now, because I just kind of stopped doing it because it felt more like work. Most people get to do it because they're going to it for different reasons than people that are going to it, that are in musical instrument retail.
Yeah.
And so, I'm finally kind of thinking about going back to NAMM, but going back as more as an artist, which would be way, way more enjoyable for me. Um, or just going as a fan, because NAMM is a wonderful experience. And I totally understand why so many people that are fans of music like to go to NAMM.
Yeah.
But for me, it just felt much more like work. And now for the first time in gosh knows how many years, I'm actually kind of getting excited about thinking about going to NAMM in a much different capacity. You know.
Well, I will definitely make sure that I have all of your links, and show all of your links in every description box and every show that I do, because I want to I don't want to forget anybody. I don't want to forget my PayPal supporters. I and I just want to say real quick, um, Michael Landick, Eric Broadbent, Music Gear Network, Design 39 Media, Dimbola Blade Works, Victoria, Australia, um, and also the Boss Katana Owners Group, and on Facebook. These are all the people that are my PayPal supporters, and it's because of them that I'm able to keep doing what I'm doing now.
Hey, all those people that Will just gave a shout out to. That's awesome. You are
Yeah,
awesome people.
I couldn't do it. I always like to thank my supporters and thanking you and thanking all my previous guests for giving me your time and thank you very much,
Mhm.
Gar, for coming on my show today.
Well, when Will puts out the links, check out our brand new YouTube channel. Subscribe. We're trying to build up the subscribers. Because it is a brand new YouTube. It's all nice and shiny. It's got some very, hopefully you'll really enjoy the videos that I posted. And check out our Twitter, check out our Instagram, our Facebook. Track us on Bands in Town.
Yes,
That Bands in Town is a great vehicle for finding out when bands are playing near you in your city. We love Bands in Town. So check out all of that, all of those links. Humble thank you to Will for inviting
thank
me
you.
to be on interviewed in this. It's been an absolutely wonderful experience,
Thank you.
and thank you to everyone that's tuned into this broadcast. Doing this is just such a great experience, and hopefully I'll get a chance to possibly inspire, and if not inspire, give you a chuckle or two.
Outstanding. And before we go, and thank you very
Mhm.
much for those kind words. Um, Before we go, if you had any idea or do have any big picture plans for Appetite for Destruction, where would you like to see the band be? Now that the band is picking up momentum, the band is drawing interest from promoters, the band is already starting to achieve some wonderful, wonderful things, and has, and is going to achieve many, many more from what I've seen.
What,
What would, I'm sorry, Gar, what would be your
oh,
big picture?
you're going to say where are we planning on going in the future?
Well, what would be your big picture? What do you want to see
Um,
happen?
well, for me, I think the most fun part about doing this is kind of uh, being, similar to being an explorer. Like we read in history books. People always want to explore and to conquer new horizons. And for me, that type of exploring is just seeing how far it'll go.
Yeah.
Can we reach a point where we can become a band that literally tours all over the United States, just like a major touring act? Because right now, yeah, we're based in Los Angeles, and yes, we do play but you know, um, we just want, for me, I just want to see how far it'll go. And I look at nothing is uh, out of the realm. Nothing. There are no limitations as far as I'm concerned. But I think it's kind of that feeling like an explorer. How far can I make this go? How far can it be taken? And that's uncharted territory. Um, but that's what makes things exciting. That's what makes things where you have a reason to put that next foot in front of the other foot
Mm-hmm.
and keep walking forward. You know, um, So that's what I'm always excited about. I just want to see how far I can make this go. And I'm not done yet. There are a lot of things on the stove that I'm cooking, and there are things that I can't really talk about because they're in the works. And the worst thing you can do is start talking about them, because then you jinx it.
Hmm.
I've learned that a long time ago.
Yeah,
When you start talking about this or you start talking about that, now you've jinxed it. So there's a lot of things that I have on the stove
that's
that I'm
great.
cooking, and so I the best way to find out is to stay tuned, because I am a very driven person. Anybody that knows me will tell you that I am a very driven person, and I'm very excited about exploring into uh, uncharted territory. That excites me.
I'm telling you, it is exciting. It is. It really, really is. And it's an honor and a privilege, really, to sit here with you today, Gar. And I thank you for your honesty and your candid, open conversation, and for endorsing my show today. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Um, I'm going to just say a few things, and so I'm gonna pop you out. I'm gonna say a few things, and then I'll be right with you.
All good, all good,
I will be right with you, sir. Thank you.
all good.
Thank you. Check out
My
Gar's
pleasure.
links. Guitar Streaming 352 can be found on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on PayPal. If you like my content, please consider hitting my PayPal link. And please share and like and share this stream so that together we could put a positive difference into somebody's life. And please subscribe. And on that note, keep an eye open. Keep an eye open, dreamers, for some exciting new shows coming up. And I'll be back Wednesday with a whole brand new artist talk at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Thanks for hanging out, dreamers.